The table was set with gold-rimmed plates and polished silverware, the smell of roasted turkey and sweet potatoes filling the air. My daughter's house was always decorated for show, the kind of perfect spread she wanted people to photograph for social media, not the kind of meal meant to feed a family with love. I had helped her prepare some of the dishes earlier that day, chopping onions until my hands burned, stirring gravy while she barked orders like I was one of her staff. When the food was finally ready, everyone gathered around, laughter echoing, glasses clinking, while I quietly took my place at the corner of the table. She made a show of serving her husband first, then his parents, then her friends, placing perfect slices of turkey breast on their plates, stuffing piled high cranberry sauce glistening under the light. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. When she finally came to me, her smirk was already forming. She bent down to my ear and whispered, "Dogs eat better than you." Then, with a flourish, she dropped a plate in front of me, scraps of skin, broken bones, and half-chewed fat, clearly scraped from the trash bowl in the kitchen. The room went silent for a moment, shocked gasps filling the air. Someone coughed uncomfortably, but instead of correcting herself, she laughed. "Oh, lighten up," she said, waving her hand. "She's old, she doesn't need much anyway. This is more than enough for her." Her husband shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing. Her in-laws glanced at each other but stayed silent too. Not one person stood up for me. I looked at the pile of garbage on my plate, the smell of rot clinging to it, bile rising in my throat. My hands shook, but I forced them still, folding them neatly in my lap. My chest burned, but my face stayed calm. She clinked her glass, grinning. "Cheers to family." Everyone raised their drinks, some nervously, some laughing along, and I sat there with my humiliation served on porcelain. I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I sat quietly, memorizing every smirk, every insult, every turned head, because I knew one thing: humiliation is temporary. But the lesson I was about to teach her would last forever. That night, when the lights dimmed and the plates were cleared, I folded the dirty napkin she had tossed at me like I was a maid. I tucked it into my handbag, not because I wanted to keep it, but because I wanted to remember. Every thread of cruelty stitched into that cloth would fuel me. She thought she had reduced me to nothing, but what she didn't know was that her words and her cruelty had given me something far more powerful than her laughter purpose, and I was going to make her eat every single one of those words. The next morning, the smell of last night's feast still clung to the house. My daughter hummed cheerfully in the kitchen, as if she hadn't humiliated me in front of everyone. I heard her bragging on the phone to one of her friends. "I gave her bones, can you believe it?" Everyone nearly choked on their laughter. It was priceless. Her voice cut through me, but instead of pain this time, I felt something else, ice-cold clarity. She thought she had won. She thought I'd sit quietly forever, swallowing scraps like some half-starved mutt. But I was done being quiet. That morning, while she bustled around, I slipped into her study. My daughter had always been careless with her perfect image, too focused on appearances, never on details. And in her desk drawers, her chaos lay hidden under bills, receipts, and contracts. I pulled on gloves and began looking through her things. Credit card statements, medical bills, spa trips, designer stores, unnecessary expenses piled high. She was drowning in debt, and I knew it. She hadn't paid off her credit lines in months. She owed more than her husband even knew. Then, tucked into a folder, I found something more valuable than gold evidence of her lies. Papers that showed she had borrowed money under her in-laws' names. Documents she had never shared, the kind of thing that could ruin her perfect standing if anyone saw. I tucked copies into my bag, my heart pounding not with guilt, but with a quiet electric fire. She had humiliated me publicly, and now I held the rope that would strangle her pride. Later that afternoon, she came into the living room in a silk robe, sipping champagne left over from the night before. She saw me sitting quietly sewing a tear in my old cardigan. She smirked. "Still here, huh? You'd think after last night you'd get the hint you don't belong at the table anymore." I looked up at her, forcing the kind of gentle smile she thought meant weakness. "Oh, darling," I said softly. I've learned to be patient. You'll see." Her laughter rang sharp as broken glass, but I let it wash over me. Because patience was my greatest weapon. I wasn't going to scream or fight or throw dishes the way she expected. I was going to wait, silent and watchful, while I sharpened my revenge in the shadows. That night, while she slept, I sat in my room with the documents spread out on the bed. Each page was another stone to weigh her down, another piece of evidence to remind her that the woman she dismissed as worthless was the same one who held the key to her downfall. She had said dogs eat better than me. Soon she would learn that even dogs treat loyalty with respect, and she would learn that every bite of cruelty she served me would come back, bitter and raw, on her own plate. That weekend arrived faster than I expected. My daughter had planned a fancy Friendsgiving follow-up dinner, bragging she'd outdo the actual holiday meal. She spent hours decorating, arranging flowers, and obsessing over place settings. The house glowed with candles and soft music, every inch curated for admiration. But under all that shine, I knew her panic had been growing. I'd left small hints, papers shuffled out of order in her desk, a credit card bill she swore she paid suddenly resurfacing on the counter. She started snapping at her husband, accusing him of carelessness, not realizing the invisible hands pulling the strings were mine. That night, I came down the stairs slowly, steadying myself with the railing, dressed simply but neatly, my hair brushed smooth, pearls at my neck. I looked like nothing more than a quiet grandmother. No one suspected the storm I carried inside. Dinner began, laughter and chatter filling the room. Glasses clinked, food was served. I watched her laugh too loudly, sip too quickly, her nerves leaking through her performance. Then I placed my bag on the table beside me, pulled out a single folded paper and laid it silently in front of her plate. "What's this?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Read," I said calmly, sipping my water. She unfolded it, and her face drained. It wasn't just the debts. It was proof of the loans she'd taken under her in-laws' names, the receipts from the fake charities she used for tax write-offs, and the guardianship updates she didn't even know existed. Her hands trembled. Around the table, her friends leaned in, whispering. Her husband went pale. One of her in-laws snatched the page from her fingers, reading silently before glaring across the table. "You used our names?" She stammered. It's not what it looks like." But I wasn't done. I placed another folded page on the table. "This one explains where the baby goes if you're deemed unfit. Signed, sealed, legal. Updated just this year." Gasps filled the room. Her husband's face hardened, his eyes narrowing as he read the clause. My daughter's voice broke into a scream. "Mom, how could you?" I leaned in, my voice ice. "You fed me bones from the trash and called me less than a dog. You humiliated me in front of your friends, laughed while I sat hungry at your table. You forgot that I raised you, that I built this roof you eat under, and that I kept every secret you thought you'd buried. You wanted me to eat like an animal? Tonight, you eat your own words." She stood up shaking, her hands clawing the air, but no one supported her. Not her husband, not her friends, not her in-laws. They all turned cold, disgusted by the woman who thought herself superior. The night ended not with her toasts, not with her laughter, but with her begging me in whispers while guests filed out, their faces hard with judgment. Her husband gathered the baby and walked away without even looking at her. And me? I sat calmly in the chair she once kicked scraps to, holding my cup steady, my voice calm as stone. She had said, "Dogs eat better than you." By the end of that weekend, she was the one starving of respect, of trust, of control, while I held everything she thought she owned. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.